Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and stand for the invocation, pledge allegiance, and salute to the New Mexico flag, and Commissioner Donner will lead us in those.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you thanking you for this amazing moisture you continue to send our way, Lord. Lord, I just ask that you continue to guide our steps in all that we do. Lord, just help us to listen and hear what our constituents would have to say, Lord, and for us to do your will in all things. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Okay, next, our approval of the agenda, and I'll entertain a motion for this with the recommendation to strike item 4 as we have that in order down below as item 7, so that we can go through the presentation first. Commissioners will have their matters, and then we can have Q&A and comments from all of you. So,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Was it Donner? Okay. It's different sound. Okay. So Brendan and Donner. Any discussion, comments, questions?
I just want to make sure that that motion includes the proviso of canceling that first number 4 item.
Does it include that? To remove item 4?
Yes, with the change.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Second. Thank you.
All right. Great. All those in favor of approving the agenda with that change?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda, the minutes approval, and since we have so much to get to tonight and we need to work on them, we're going to go ahead and pull those for more work. So I don't think we need to vote. We might as well vote on that, I guess. All those in favor, well, let's do a motion. I move to pull these for more work.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And next, we have discussion and action items. So, community input and discussion of the Edgewood Elementary School campus and the intended uses by the town of Edgewood. And so, Mayor Pro Tem Powers and I are going to go through a PowerPoint together, providing some information. So, we're going to come down here to do that and share that first.
First part of the meeting will be information, because an informed electorate is what's required in order to make an informed vote or decision or input. So Thomas Jefferson, I guess when JFK was president, he had a large dinner with heads of state from all over the world. There was a lot of very intelligent people in the room, and he said, I believe that the only time there was more brain power in this room was when Thomas Jefferson dined here alone. He was a brilliant guy, and I always try to, I think he set the standards, and we've been trying to live up to them ever since. Okay. So why are we here? We're here because Edgewood Elementary is in danger of demolition. The school board voted to demolish it at their meeting on April 19, 2022. The town of Edgewood has been using that facility for years and was promised to be able to use that facility for our town and community events. So we wanted to talk about that. So what are we losing if the building gets demolished? It's a taxpayer-funded building that's already been paid for. We'll get into what the percentages of who pays for that building are. It's a much-needed community space. The hidden costs are the loss of our pre-K program that actually got forced out of the building, and loss of our recreation, arts, sports, entertainment, music, all kinds of things. let's take a look at some footage.
So real quick, we wanted to let you all know that this is being broadcast live on 102 FM, East Mountain Radio. And so thank you all for being here and broadcasting this, and also on Facebook Live as well.
Don, did you want to say a word about that? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
We also want to thank Legacy for being so hospitable to us. If you look around, you can see that Edgewood really doesn't have another facility that we have to use Legacy's, and thank God they let us do it. But that's another reason that we need that building. So please.
Mayor, this is a beautiful building. So my name is Don Davis, and I'm the operator of the new radio station known as East Mountain Radio. Finally, this area has a radio station devoted exclusively to this area that's commercial. Our friends at KXNM, and when I say friends, I mean that sincerely, have helped us a lot along the way, and we wish them well in their future. Of course, KXNM is no longer KXNM. KEMR, East Mountain Radio, is on FM 102.1 and in the daytime on AM 1080. And it's our mission to make this radio station the community forum that radio can be for a community like East Mountain. Thus, we are broadcasting this meeting live on the air so that people have it more accessible to them without actually having to come. I understand it is going to be presented in various forms on video and recorded as well. My associate is Ludella Awad. You'll see her a lot. We'll be at the Punkin Chunkin this weekend along with Jim Goodman, who is somewhere, there we go, Jim, fantastic guy and a great sportscaster. We're doing the high school games live. So Ludella, thank you for everything you're doing for East Mountain Radio.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming out. This is Ludella. I'm the news director and government relations specialist, so I handle pretty much everything in the station, and thank you guys all for, we'd like to keep you guys all informed, and thank you all for coming out here tonight.
Okay, and thank you all for being here tonight, and it's important this discussion take place. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for coming and for helping us get the word out by broadcasting this all over the East Mountains.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the uses of the facilities, or proposed uses as the case may be. And just emphasizing here that this is so valuable for Edgewood, and not just Edgewood, but the surrounding area as well. One of the initiatives, for example, before we jump into this one here, is higher education, and that's something that had been discussed during school closure timeframe of bringing CNM or Mesa Lands out here. The town of Edgewood, in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, has thankfully brought Santa Fe Community College out here. So we have 5 classes for the fall, and the classrooms at this facility at the old Edgewood Elementary School would be very, very useful and important. And it's not just for Edgewood, but the entire area.
These programs are very successful. During the Junior Police Academy, they had 85 children in there. It was great to see them. However, since we couldn't use the South Complex, they were in our offices and actually displaced us. We had to give up our offices that day. So the facility is in use, it's in demand, and we really do need it and use it.
Right, so some of you may not know, but there's the north, what we call the north building on the campus, and the south building. And the south building is the building in question here for demolition. The north building we've already successfully made into town hall. And that's what Commissioner Powers is referring to, is because we couldn't use the south building and the perfectly good gym there. The children were running around and in the library and in the offices and bathrooms, and it was great. I mean, town hall has really come alive, but we definitely needed the space. And also the YES program has been successfully resurrected after many years of not occurring. And I believe it was over 80 participants in the YES program as well, and gave parents a place for their kiddos, and so they're not just sitting home having screen time. So very, very important use for our community is for our children. And I hear the argument that, oh, these buildings, we can only put money into buildings that are for children. Well, I'm here to say, there's plenty of children that use the entire Edgewood Elementary campus. The pre-K as well. Smarty Pants Preschool have been in there, I believe, since just shortly after the closing in 2014-15 school year, and had successfully expanded 400% and was forced to leave in June. So, but you can see some pictures there. We also have the Route 66 Arts Alliance, and another very valuable community use for kids and all ages actually. And this is a program that was very successfully run out of there and asked to leave in May, June as well. Next. Some of you may remember the Commissioner Forum that occurred last, I want to say October of 21. And so, great picture of the gym and the use there. I mean, does that look like a gym that needs to be ripped down? I mean, it was perfectly usable. We had a great forum there. And in the same gym, there was also the country living lifestyle event put on by the chamber and had a lot of community members there.
So to recap, these are the uses that you just saw. Higher education is one of them. We finally got Santa Fe Community College down here to start teaching higher education in our community. That could be expanded if we had the classroom facilities to do it. That's why the pre-K had been able to expand 400% over those years, because they could move and expand into classroom after classroom in that South Complex.
There are many, many proposed uses. We didn't capture them all on here, but AYSO, for example, would love to have their offices in there. They approached us and the district, and district denied. So there's just many other uses that are not listed there too.
So New Mexico Pre-K is an initiative. The legislature recognized how important it is to have early childhood education, because that's the time that their development really can get kicked off and get them a head start. So they formed the New Mexico Pre-K organization. You can see it's to ensure that every child in New Mexico has the opportunity to attend a high-quality early education program before going to kindergarten. The stated goals on their website are to expand early childhood community capacity among these others. So how do you expand community capacity for PK? You provide building space, right? You don't take it away. So let's have the next slide, please. So what happened into our pre-K in Edgewood? It was expanded 400%, and then the district told us that they saw that there was a pot of free money, which I don't believe anything is free, but it's a matter of which pocket it comes out of, right? They wanted to take it out of the state pocket instead of the local district pocket. So they saw this pot of money, they applied for demolition funds, and they were turned down because the pre-K was in there, which is a recognized valid use of the building. So what they did, instead of recognizing the value and continuing the use, they actually forced the pre-K out and then declared it an abandoned building, which in my world, abandoned is when nobody wants to be there, not when you get kicked out. So that's, they wanted to justify the demolition funds, and that's why they did it. So Mountain View Elementary, how many people know where that is? Okay, good. It's about 7 miles east of here, 3 miles from Moriarty, 7 miles from Edgewood. So that was closed about the same time as Edgewood Elementary, but instead of reducing capacity and wanting to knock it down, they actually repurposed the building, renovated it, and expanded their pre-K and early childhood education programs in there. It's a valid use. I'm glad they did it. The question is, why doesn't Edgewood deserve the same opportunities as Moriarty does? So, next slide, please.
Okay, this is the new school district map of the board member districts themselves. And these are calculated by research and polling based on the 2020 census data. And each district has to have approximately the same population and composition. So they look at equity things. But you can see here very clearly that it's probably at least 75% of the population being in Edgewood, either in not just the incorporated Edgewood area, but the extended East Mountain area, as you all know. And you can just see by looking at the neighborhoods and the concentration of the districts. So there's arguably at least 3, maybe 4 districts that are definitely in the Edgewood area, and that's because the population is there. So they had to pick up population there. Therefore, the representation should be there.
Right, there's 2 important reasons to know that the population is concentrated around Edgewood in this district, because one is we deserve a voice with 75% of the population. The other is that we're funding 75 to 80% of all of the capital improvements through our property taxes and mill levies that get passed. So while we're funding 75% of all of that, we're going to go into in a minute where has the money gone. Now we know who pays it, we know where the population is.
Okay, so the next 3 slides, we're going to look at capital improvements, and what does that mean? It's pretty much anything capital related, building, structure, land improvements, furniture and equipment over $5,000 that's spent for capital money, right? And that funding source comes from us, the taxpayers, through bonds and a mill levy that's charged through our property taxes, and we pay those property taxes. And again, probably 75–80%. And so the district, according to their audited financial statements in the recent years, 2014 to 2021, I didn't have 22 because that audit isn't done yet, but it was over $27 million spent in capital improvements, okay? So let's take a look. This is the high school.
There's millions of dollars represented here, and you'll see the disparity here in a minute.
And actually, just if you want to go back one, I just wanted to point out that on the right-hand side, the second to the top there, sports complex for $5.6 million. That's not part of the $27 million because that's proposed now. Well, they're moving forward on it already, and the taxpayers passed that bond in November of 21. So, and they have that planned in Moriarty as well. So, Moriarty Middle School was a brand new building, brand new middle school. Moriarty Elementary was renovated, and then Mountain View, of course, was renovated. Like Commissioner Powers mentioned, renovations for the pre-K and the boardroom, the administration offices, and the roof. Of course, they took care of that roof and renovated the kitchen. So this kitchen here has been stripped.
So lots of improvements all over the Moriarty School buildings. Here's what we have in Edgewood. It's amazing when you see it. I didn't know all this. I mean, I had to dig into this to understand what was going on with it. Why would they want to knock down a perfectly good building? I'm a general contractor. I've been building for 30 years. I went in with our planning director, Brad Hill, who's also a general contractor, and Phil and I, and Brad has been a building inspector. We went through that building, and yes, they've let the roof deteriorate. It needs some deferred maintenance, but it's nothing in comparison to the value and the utility of that building.
Yeah, and definitely you can see some of the things in my book don't really count. You know, I didn't put things that apply to all the schools like security and technology and things like that. Just, you know, other capital improvements. And technically, Edgewood Middle School should say none, because gravel and paint is certainly not over $5,000. Well, at least the gravel anyway. But I did put it on there because it was in their bond video, touting what they had spent their bond monies on, and that's what was there.
So we're saying, you know, we're supposed to represent the will of the people in Edgewood. That's why you elected us. That's why people turned out at 300% of normal turnout to change the form of government here, to have a voice. In order to have an informed opinion about something, you need to know what the facts are, and that's why we've dug into all this. That's why we're presenting this. And then after this presentation, we'll want to hear from all of you. So there's a huge disparity as you've just seen, in the difference in the way the money is spent, as well as who's paying for it. So why does the district want to demolish the building? That's the million-dollar question. So they've said 3 things publicly about why they would rather demolish than preserve the building. We have the sound on that?
First, you restart.
I swear she said something, I remember.
This is the superintendent of the school district, for those of you that don't know.
District's plans now are to demolish it.
It would cost as much to put a new roof on it, which it needs, than to tear it down. So it's basically, it's a wash on, the dollar amount.
So, for me to understand government is I've had to always reduce it down to the family level or personal level. So if you had a $300,000 or $400,000 house and it would cost you $20,000 to put a new roof on or $20,000 to knock it down, which would you do? One way you have a house with a new roof, the other way you have pretty much nothing except the land.
Not only that, but let's say that you're ready for a newer, upgraded home or bigger home or something like that. Wouldn't you wait until you're ready for that home and have firm and funded plans for that home and then sell it? You wouldn't knock down your old building or your old house for a vacant land just sitting there and then go buy a new house. That makes no sense.
They promised us to be able to use it for our community.
There was never a promise, and they keep saying there was a promise.
So that first lady was Sherry Abraham. She was one of our previous counselors that had been there for many years and lived through this experience with the district, shutting down Edgewood Elementary. People got really upset. And then they said, well, we'll give you a consolation prize. We'll let you use the building as a community center. And now that's suddenly changed without any explanation or input from us. We've been trying to reach the commission. We've talked with the board. We've tried to talk with them. We offered an intergovernmental panel meeting where our commission would meet with theirs in public, and we could talk about these issues in the open. As you all know, one of the things that we're very committed to is openness and transparency. That's why this is being recorded, and that's why it always goes out to the public on live stream. So these are from the board minutes, excerpts from the board minutes during the discussions on the school closure. Edgewood residents were very upset about the school closing. And they said, we'll always welcome working with our local municipal agencies with regard to their needs and available facilities. They also said that in regards to repurposing, it would be part of the Edgewood Commons master plan, and the town of Edgewood may want to utilize part of that facility. So there was recognition, even in the minutes and in the discussions, that this was happening. Then, every 5 years, every school district has to do a facilities master plan, which is what they're planning to do with each building. Are they going to refurbish it? Are they going to demolish it? Or are they going to build a new one? So in there, this is a quote: the district will keep the gym, the kitchen, and the lobby for recreational purposes for the community to use the space. And that was also part of the Edgewood Commons master plan, which is like a town master plan where people get together. It's a big public process. What do we want the town to be like? What do we see as a future here? So it was even embedded in the master plan for the town.
And this was, it went through a very long process of all the stakeholders putting input. And then this master plan is approved by the state every year or every time they do the master plan. So it's something that's not just a document that can go away.
So it recognizes in the facilities master plan that the closing of the school created deep tension between the district and members of the community. Since then, MESD has worked diligently to repair the relationship with the community and is currently leasing a portion of the closed school to the town of Edgewood for a community center and library. So it's all over in the documents that this was promised to us. It was intended that way. It was even consideration because people were unhappy about closing the school.
Just to add to that, so I was on the SOS committee. Some of you may remember way back the first SOS Save Our School, and were successful in that in, I believe it was 2007, 2008 time frame. And so then I got onto the board and dealt with this the second time around, and the promise was to the community. I lived through this, is what I'm trying to communicate here, and you know, former Mayor Pro Tem Ring and former Councilor Sherry Abraham, I don't know where she is, but over there, you guys remember very clearly, and I'm sure they'll have some comments later, but this was absolutely promised. You know, it's highly offensive for me to have gone through all of that with the community and on the board, and then to hear somebody say it was never promised. And it's in the documents, it's in the minutes, in the meetings.
Was the superintendent that said that?
She was involved in the district.
She was involved in that.
Yeah. We're going to be building a state-of-the-art elementary school in the future. So we do not want to be selling that, giving that to any other entity. Basically, it's not for sale.
Can you rewind that and play it a little louder, please? I couldn't quite hear what she was saying.
We're going to be building a state-of-the-art elementary school in the future. So we do not want to be selling that, giving that to any other entity. Basically, it's not for sale.
So what she's saying is that at some point in the future, that Edgewood will need another elementary school, and they want to preserve that exact site for the school. So let's take a look at that whole thing.
Okay, so to have a new state-of-the-art school is highly dependent upon enrollment, right? And you all know that they closed Mountain View and Edgewood Elementary School because of the declining enrollment that they were complaining about for so long, which was a reality. And it's just continued to decline. I find it really interesting that from school year or fiscal year 14 to 15, they dropped 200 students. Well, you know what happened there? They closed the schools and the parents took their kids elsewhere. So then they lost all that revenue, and it did absolutely nothing as far as financially to close the schools. So anyway, you know, just over time, you can see the enrollment is down 17%, and also on their application to the PSCOC and PSFA at the state, this is the district's words, they say it'll be many years before they'll see the growth needed to build additional facilities on this site. So until that time, and even after, why aren't we allowed to use it?
So the other thing to know about that is that it's talking about the cost of insurance and maintenance is cost prohibitive. So the insurance costs were around $23,000 a year. The pre-K was paying $24,000 a year. So their insurance costs were covered, which is a very common measure with the state as to whether a building has residual value. If it'll at least pay its way for insurance, we still, when Edgewood needs a school, it needs to have a site. So this is section 16. We're sitting, this is our at the elementary school in the town hall right here. But this entire 1 mile square section is owned by the Commissioner of Public Lands. It's for schools. It's called the school section. So their primary purpose is to provide sites for schools. And what's happened here is this is the middle school. They are on a current lease rate of about $5,500 a year. They'll go a 40-year term and provide a lease whenever a school needs it. And they get preference. No one else, if the school wants it, they get it. So we're saying it doesn't have to be a lose-lose, or lose-win. It can be a win-win. In that we've made them an offer to purchase the South Complex. It will save them $900,000 in demolition funds. They'll get some cash that's well enough to pay for about another 100 years of the lease for an elementary school anywhere in this whole section. It's one of those rare occasions where they can have their cake and eat it too. They can save $900,000 in demolition and the cash we've offered them and receive the cash, enough to pay for quite a long-term lease and have whatever site they want them.
All right, so just wanted to give some examples here of repurposing and let everyone know that Edgewood is very good stewards with taxpayer dollars, and we look at old buildings and, you know, make sure that we can repurpose them and not just tear them down. For example, the old fire station right by Dairy Queen is now the Edgewood Police Department, and we did put money and invest money into that. But guess how much Santa Fe County gave us that building for?
So,
$100.
and that's partially in recognition. We send about $6 million a year north to Santa Fe as from our GRT. The county shares it with the city. And so in recognition of that, usually the municipalities are returned services, capital improvements. So that's partially in recognition of that. So what you've seen here is that Edgewood is paying about 75 to 80% of the bill for these repurposed or renovated or new buildings. Most of the renovation and repurposing is going on down there. The only demolition, well, I guess they're going to demolish one old building down there. But this is the facility in Edgewood that could be used as our community center. So I think we're going to go to matters from the commissioners, because we don't get to talk about these things except in public. That's to promote public debate. So we want to hear from all of the commissioners, and then we'd like to go to question and answer.
So we'll pause here on this slide, go to commissioner comments, and did you want to recap anything else?
Well, it was shocking to me when I dug into all this and started to see the numbers. The way that the school board was behaving toward the town commission and the people they seemed to resent being in some of their meetings and speaking up, just made me wonder. I just assumed that all of the population had to be down there. All the voting power had to be down there. But it was exactly the opposite, and we're paying for most of the improvements and getting very little in exchange. So we just want a win-win here. We want parity. We want to balance the scale so they're somewhere reasonably, balanced with who's putting up the money and what the facilities are. Edgewood has suffered from an identity crisis because we were always a bedroom community of Albuquerque. And then even when we incorporated, it's strange that after 24 years, we still have jurisdictions that don't seem to want to recognize us as a discrete entity the same as they do Espanola or other cities in Santa Fe County.
Edgewood is now larger than Raton, TRC, many other municipalities throughout the state house, and we're the second largest municipality in Santa Fe County, and so it's really, we've grown a lot, and that's just in the incorporated area itself.
Okay, we'll go to matters from the commissioners, and then I hope you all have some good questions. We'll go to question and answer.
From the commissioners. Commissioner Donner. Whatever you're comfortable with. You want to use mine?
Man. Well, it's so awesome seeing everybody here this evening to stand out against this and to have your voice heard. It just reaffirms for us that we are doing what you guys are wanting us to do. We have 65. We're closing in on 6,500 people in the town of Edgewood. We deserve better. And we want to have this relationship with Moriarty Edgewood School District that benefits both sides. And hopefully there is a way that we can come to that reasonably. I'm very interested in hearing what everybody has to say about this. And just thank you guys for coming.
All right, Commissioner Brennan.
This building, it is also the oldest school building within the town of Edgewood. It's one of the oldest buildings in Edgewood. So not only is it a valuable building, but it is part of Edgewood's history. And by tearing it down is erasing part of Edgewood's history. And it's the same as that's what wants to be done, is to erase Edgewood's history so we don't have our own identity. Everything I've read since Edgewood has incorporated back in 1999, there has been an attitude about Edgewood, that's just Edgewood, those people don't matter. Well, I'm here to tell you, Edgewood people do matter. Yes, they do. It was even said by the school superintendent when we were talking about the different schools out here in Edgewood, and we were talking about EVCA. That is a good school. But because it's not part of their district, all those kids that go to that school don't count. Doesn't matter to them. It matters to me. Every student that goes to a school that's in Edgewood matters to me, whether it's a private school, a public school, or a charter school, or a home school. It matters to me. This building can be used for a lot of things. It can also be used to help those of us who do want to homeschool our children. Because there are times that you want to have a class together and bring other kids like your kids that are learning the same topics, and to bring them in. By having this building still here, it has classrooms. We can designate a classroom where those parents can bring their children in there and have a class. Once that building is gone, we can't do that. So every time you think about removing that building, think about all the possibilities that we can be using that building for will be removed. This past year, we had terrible, terrible forest fires that decimated areas of our state. Luckily, Edgewood and the area around here, we didn't get hit. There were a couple of small fires. There was one down by Cedillo. But we were very fortunate. We were lucky. We dodged a bullet. But let's say we did get hit by a fire and people were displaced. We only have one hotel in the town. Where can we go ahead and put up people on an emergency basis? And I brought this up with the superintendent, and her reply was, well, you can use one of the other schools. I said, that's fine and dandy during the summer. What are you going to do if the emergency hits during the school year? You're going to tell all the kids in all those schools that, I'm sorry, you can't use your gymnasium and your facility because we're using it for an emergency shelter. I don't think so. I don't think you think that way. And that is why we're here to work diligently to save that building. Thank you.
Commissioner Naya.
Thank you, Commissioner. First of all, I want to thank you both for doing the presentation that you did. It reminded me of a lot of things that the school district has done in the past, and also what the town has done. Back in 1999, I ran for the Board of Education, and I won by a decent margin back then too. There were 11 people that were running for positions for 3 board members. And the reason there was such a great enthusiasm of people to run is because back then the Board of Education was in disarray, kind of like it is in today. So I think one of the things that we need to do is remember that we do have many people that are eligible, willing, I'm hoping, to run for the Board of Education and allow the town of Edgewood to be able to have a voice. We have a voice in there, but they're not listening at all to us. So, as you know, I sat on the Board of Education for 3 terms, which was 12 years. The next time that the election after 1999, we had revised the school districts into 5 districts because we no longer could run at large, because the populations had changed for the entire district. So the district was then cut into 5, just like the town of Edgewood is cut into 5 right now. I was in District 3 at that time, and and which was the southern part of the district, which I represented pretty much the town of Edgewood, and was proud of it. At that time, I had also requested for the superintendent to work on placing the town's name Edgewood into the Moriarty Edgewood School District. It had to be named, Edgewood had to be named as part of the district because of the size it was at the time, and also because they deserve to. They pay a lot of taxes into the town of Edgewood. So that's why it became the Moriarty Edgewood School District. Currently, the population that is coming out of Edgewood is, as they mentioned earlier, is what's helping the school district remain at a steady enrollment. You know, and so we know that the growth is definitely coming from here, and definitely in the recent years. I'm here tonight to ask for your help to convince the Board of Education to think long and hard about just what is about to happen if they demolish the south side buildings of the Edgewood Elementary campus. As was mentioned earlier again by Commissioner Powers, I am a licensed contractor and have been for a number of years. I may look young, but I'm not. I do have a lot of experience in building structures, and I have a lot of experience dealing with CMU, which is concrete blocked, and you know, it's very expensive to do that type of work today. It takes a lot of man hours, and the material is not cheap. So it's kind of hard to replace a building of that structure for this kinds of monies that they've already spent. So it is my opinion that this building can be used as a community center for the town of Edgewood. All it needs currently is just some TLC, tender love and care, and maintenance, which was neglected for many, many years on the particular building. I know that because I've been in that building many times. And as I said, I was on the Board of Education, so I do know a lot about the history of closing the school and also lack of maintenance. The Board of Education should consider the thoughts of knocking it down. If they don't want the building, then let us take it over. We can take it off their hands. We'll be more than happy to do that. We can take care of all the maintenance, the insurances, taxes, and all the worries that they have for it being in their inventory. And that way the district doesn't have to be penalized for having too much square footages in their buildings for the number of students in enrollment today. They can take the taxpayers' funds and put it in a nest egg and build a new state-of-the-art building for us, for the people in the town of Edgewood. So thank you all very much for listening. Oh, and I have one other statement to make. Do you know that today the district was using the red brick building? Many of us even know what that is, the red brick building. That, my friends, is the old Moriarty School building, the one building that was built in 1945 for all of us to go to school in. I remember it. Like I said, I'm not as young as I think you are. You know, the town hall in Moriarty was built in 1970, also out of CMU and steel. You know, that stuff works. It's going to stay here. Tornadoes have a hard time knocking it down. Hurricanes couldn't do it. So we shouldn't let the school district do it. So again, you know, the next time you go out to eat, remember Chili Hills, and when you sit in there and you look around, that building too is made out of CMU, and it's been here for a long time. That's part of our history, just as the elementary school is. So I beg of you all, please, let's start talking to the school district. It's part of our community. We're part of theirs, and we need to be one. We need to be adults about this that's happening, and be respectful to the children that we have, and help them in any way that we can, and be fiscal responsible for the funds that we pay through our taxes. I thank you all very much for giving me just a few seconds to speak. I know I spoke a little longer, but I have the mic.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I appreciated your comments. And also, just in comparison, the Edgewood Elementary School building was built in the 80s, not in the 40s or 50s or 60s, and those buildings are still in use over there, right?
Right. The Moriarty School building was built in the 40s. The Rectory building, ours was built in 1981, and also in 1980 we did some additions to it.
What about the administration building you were talking about?
The administration was built in 1946.
Okay.
And it's still standing today.
And we looked into the average age of school buildings in the United States is about 40 years, a little over 40 years. Because the district was saying, well, that building's 40 years old. Well, so are most of them in the United States.
Most government buildings are.
And I guess I just want to reiterate, I've probably talked enough, but I just want to reiterate that the school board will either knock down that building and then in the future put out a bond issue which will hit all of our taxes to build a new elementary school. They will do that whether they knock down the building or move the building site and preserve the building. So they stand to lose nothing. In fact, it's all gain for them because they will save $900,000 in demolition, and they'll get the cash offer that we've made them, which will pay for another building site. So they actually come out ahead by doing it that way.
Thank you. I did want to introduce our town manager, Scott Sensenbauer, and our town clerk, Nina McCracken. They're with us. We had, as most of you know, we had interims in those positions and took our time finding just the right candidates, and here they are. So very thankful for them and the hard work that they're doing a great job. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our clerk because I think we probably have a couple of items to read into the record and maybe some questions and comments you want to go over.
Yes. There is one comment from the Facebook, Jeffrey Lusk. He says, we really need to keep this building for the city of Edgewood. But I do have, there were people who were not able to make it tonight and had reached out to make sure that their comments were still heard. Let's see, we'll start with Jean DeMarte from 45 Rainbow Road. She said, to whom it may concern, I will be out of town and unable to attend the meeting on October 4th, 2022. I support reusing the building for community purposes. I realize that taking this building on may increase my taxes. I am okay with that. My only concern is that we don't overlap the Santa Fe County Senior Center. I will be in favor of a multi-generational community center, putting in multi-use trails connecting into Venus Park, continued use by the preschool, continued use by AYSO soccer, or any youth recreational programs, meetings, classes, gatherings, etc. I am unable to walk my dogs from my house due to loose dogs in the neighborhood, mostly because my neighbors don't have adequate fences or gates. I do not blame the dogs, so I load up my dogs and use the trails by the horse area, the Edgewood 5K Trail, the Horton Road Trail, or the nature trail at Vista Grande. It would be wonderful to have a dirt trail connecting Venus Park and the school property. Cindy Youts also sent in an email and says, to town commissioners, please accept my written comments regarding the Edgewood Elementary School building. The community needs a location large enough to hold community events, recreational programs, and activities. Edgewood does not have any one building that shows the history of Edgewood, like the old elementary school. I support the town in its maintenance and continued responsibility of the facility. If it is feasible for the town of Edgewood to purchase or take responsibility for this facility, I encourage them to do so. Granted, it is an older building which likely needs upgrades or repairs to it. However, the cost may be more beneficial than tearing it down and rebuilding a new structure. The history and use of this facility by the community needs to be considered.
So, Madam Mayor, I wonder if we can take some live Q&A now and maybe do some more of this later.
I just have one more.
Oh, one more?
Yeah, if that's okay.
Okay.
I did receive 16 letters that were all very similar, and so I only went through and saw who had something different, but the 16 letters, your voices are still heard. But this is from Casey Uliberry from 19 Winsong Lane. Turn it into a bowling alley for families. Turn it into a community indoor pool. We have no family things to do all year round. We have to go to Albuquerque for everything. That building has so much to offer and money to make. The Estancia pool charges $3 a person for the community pool. Also, maintenance would be awesome and a way better playground area for smalls and large kiddos.
Thank you, Nina.
How many people here, just out of curiosity, would like to see a community swimming pool?
Yes. It's one of the most important topics. That and youth programs and roads, right? Roads are really important too.
Madam Mayor,
Okay, so I have.
do you mind if I ask the audience a question real quick?
Oh no, I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
Awesome. How many of you in here have kids that go to the Moriarty Edgewood School District? Grandkids. Awesome. That's what I wanted to know. How many of you had kids in general that live in Edgewood that don't have anything to do? That's why we're fighting for this building. It's for our kids. It's a big part.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a public comment sign-in sheet. I'm going to read the first two names to come on up to the mic. We have a mic somewhere.
Do we have a volunteer to run the mics to the audience? Maybe that would be quicker.
Or they could stand and just run the mic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so first up is Tim Miller. You guys all know our former mayor,
Just push
Scott
that
Hill.
forward. You have to kind of hold it for a second.
Is it working?
Brad.
Yeah, just put that one aside. I think we've tried about 10 times to get that one going.
Try now. My name is Tim Miller. I live in downtown Edgewood. Lived out here for about almost 40 years. And I retired from the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department. One of the things that I really see a value in this building is, for many years in the East Mountains, whenever the snow would close the roads and such, in Harris we used the community center to hold people for safety until the roads could be cleaned, we could get food to them, we could have medical services available by the fire department, much which we could do here. Fire department is closed. It would be a good facility for a community center when the winters are rough or if the roads get closed to house people. And as they were mentioning, a pool facility, which during fire season I had discussed before, where the water could be sucked out and used for fire if need be. And then as long as we didn't need it, we had it covered and protected from filling up with sand. We could have different hours for kids and adults and such. So I think the building would be a huge value for many purposes, and so I would support it.
you, Tom. And so most of you know our former mayor, Brad Hill, so thank you for being here, Brad.
Absolutely.
And he's our P&Z administrator as well for the town right now, doing a great job. So thank you, Brad. And then also former councilor Linda Hawley, just saw her back there, and I think she's going to speak in a second here. But also she worked very hard with former councilor Sherry Abraham to propose repurposing and activities in that building, and so that was fantastic. Next, K.R. Scott, Mr. Scott. And after him will be Chris Willardson. Sorry if I'm not saying your last name right, but Chris.
I'm going to stand up here because I can't turn my neck well anymore to see people to the side of me. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. My name is K.R. Scott. I live on 19 Lomas Drive, and I've been privileged to be appointed by the commission to be our Park and Recs Advisory Committee chair. Now you need to understand that I was on the last Park and Recs Advisory Committee that never met. We had 2 years where we had nothing to offer the town of Edgewood. Now we started again in January, and our mission has been to provide everyone in this room something you can enjoy. As you know, we've opened up Echo Ridge Park. And for those of you who hike, run with your dog, sit and stare at the sun or the stars, that's our place for you. But that's not where we finish. Our goal is to provide Edgewood the best that we can get locally. Now, you've heard the term, you just make do. That's what we're doing. We're making do. And we look at a neighbor community with beautiful facilities. And I'm thinking, why is Edgewood just making do? Now, we're lucky. We have a lot of very generous people in this town. Our local businesses are wonderful. Our community is great, but we just make do. We don't do that anymore. The Park and Recs Committee is dedicated to you to make sure that we have programs for those who are both young in body and those of us who are young in heart. That was a joke for those of us. Sometimes I need an applause sign behind me. The point is, well, thank you. Oh, that was nice. I got somebody. The point is, folks, all of us in here need something. And I'm tired of having to say, well, can you all, like, can we meet in somebody's backyard? Can we do this maybe down this road that really is not a safe place for kids to play or walk or run on? Edgewood deserves better than that. And so those of us on the committee are fighting for you. This building, is it necessary? Well, unless any of you have a big back pocket, or one of you has a barn that you're ready to convert. I mean a big barn. We're talking about 250 feet long and about 80 feet wide. Anybody got that barn? Then we need this building. This building gives us the opportunity to have indoor activities, after school activities, where kids can go and play basketball, or we can have youth programs. There are classrooms. So for those of us who like to try something, especially those of us who want to try yoga, or Tai Chi, or Yoga Chi, or whatever it is you like, we want to have places for you. And that's important, because this town should not just make do. With 6,500 people, if we are bigger than some of our sister towns that have been around a long time with big names, I think it's about time we start living like that. And yeah, if you want to go over the mountain to Albuquerque, you'll find 10 times more than we can offer. But why go over the mountain? Why not stay here? Because everybody in this room looks pretty trustworthy. Well, except the people over there. But everybody else does. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Park and Recs Committee and behalf of all of us in here, let's do something about it. Let's save something that we can use now to make everybody in this town happier citizens. Thank you.
Chris. Next will be Bryce and Susan Simons.
Good evening.
looking forward to this because I'm really sorry to see that there's this kind of a conflict with Moriarty, and I hope we can overcome. I've been a resident here for a long time. My daughters were students at Edgewood Elementary in 1981. We moved here in the fall of '81 so that they could start school that year, and so we're very familiar with the school. And I've had some relationship with the school, the Moriarty schools, for a long time. Also, I've done a lot of surveys with them. I happen to be an architect, and I was the architect for the Route 66 elementary school. I did the Edgewood Middle School architecture, and I've done some studies for some of the other ones, and Route 66 as well. So I've had a chance to get to know the school district, but sometimes I wonder, are they our friends? Or do they view us, and some of the homeschoolers and some of, as you said, the charter school, do they view them as friends? Or are we competitors? I don't understand that. And I think we need to get over that. I think the school needs to get over that. I think we need to work together and see the importance of what we've got here and what we're trying to accomplish for our families. So I gave the commissioners a list. I was, these are things that I would point out just as a professional in the business that I would recommend to any client. And so I wanted to recommend them to consider. Bill, it's been a long time. Remember that time we went out to CNN? Rio Rancho? Anyway, so I gave them a list, and I'll read them to you and see what you think. Number one, I have 10 points. Number one, Edgewood Elementary is an important community asset. We all agree with that, don't we? Yes. And the facility has good proximity to other assets, which makes it even more valuable. Number three, there are unforeseen conditions that always you run into when you move into a new building that's not new, even a new building. And that could affect some of the usability that we have in mind, but it's just a matter of taking a look at those and see what they are and enumerate them. Number four, there likely are pros and cons of some of the anticipated uses. So we want to make a list and then we'll make pros and cons. And just treat this as a commercial endeavor, if you will. This is the way a commercial developer would look at it. Adaptive reuse. That's a very popular term today, and it should be considered here. And I think that's what we're doing. And I think the school needs to understand that. We all want to see a sustainable building being developed or built, and sustainability is really key. And the most sustainable building out there is an existing building. And so you can't beat it for that. Current codes need to be considered, so we need to look at those things as we're thinking about different adaptive reuse. Choosing the purpose for the new building, the right purpose, is really important because you make some commitments when you pick a purpose for the building. And so you want to pick good ones, and that will last. Adaptive reuse conserves water, it conserves energy, and it conserves raw materials. Those are all really important things in this day and age. And so we really need to consider those. And number 10, an adequate market research is critical. And by market research, that's kind of what you would think you would see in a commercial endeavor. But I think we could treat this that way because even though we want this to be community-based, community use. It needs to be practical, and it needs to be functional. It needs to be thought out well in advance. And so those are just some of my recommendations, that we consider these things as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. Great work on those buildings. And I think I might borrow your quote, if you don't mind, that the most sustainable building is an existing one. There's a hearing on October 11th up at the Capitol where the district has applied for this $900,000 to demolish the building. And so we are going to go up and represent all of you and Edgewood at that hearing at the Capitol. You all are welcome to come. It'll be at 1:30, and we'll use our voice again and give them some presentation. We are on the agenda, so but that's a great one because they're all about sustainability. So, okay, Bryce and Susan Simons.
Well, I really thought we were just signing in and not to speak, but then give me the microphone. First of all, I'd like to say that this big, I don't know if all of you remember, but when they bought this huge piece of land, there's going to be a high school on there. There were so many kids that they were discussing putting in a second high school. Well, we know that's not going to happen in any of our lifetimes. But I would like to say this. I would like to see you folks somewhere put the names of the school board members. It should be public information, and how to contact them so each of us could talk to them. Because I would like to know who, I mean, my kids are now 40 years old. So who is representing me and my money, because even though I don't have kids, I'm still paying, who is representing me on that school board for District 3, District 5, or whoever it is. Thank you.
They are listed on their website. There's Elizabeth Howells, Vice President, Charles Armijo is the President, Albert Chavez is the Secretary, Wendy Burns was appointed, and then also Linda Hudson was just elected by the voters in November.
Excuse me, do they have to live in the district?
Yes.
Yes, they are supposed to live in their district. Yeah, they are. Okay.
And it's interesting to note that I think three or four of those seats are going to turn over next year in November.
It's 4.
4 seats.
4 of the 5 seats are up for election.
And you remember the district map that showed all those voting districts clustered right around Edgewood. So really, Edgewood people will be, if they turn out, will be electing those seats.
Next November?
Yes, and names have to be submitted in August, I believe, this coming August, for those who may want to run. Okay, Ms. Cheryl Hubbard. Oh, okay, go ahead, sir. Tell us your name.
Is this good, Mike? Good. My name is John Collette, and I've lived in Edgewood about 25 years or so, and I just wanted to give you some information that may be helpful. A lot of people don't know this, but I got in quite a battle with the New Mexico Public Schools that involved the Attorney General. And long story short, we had a big ranch up in Santa Fe that was there since 1947. And I got really, really tired of the bonds and the high taxes and everything that was going on. So I took on the Santa Fe Public Schools and the New Mexico Public Schools and all the cabinet members in the New Mexico cabinet level. And where I went with it was I really dug into bond fraud. And eventually, as everybody heard on the news, that eventually led indirectly to some of the problems in APS schools. So there's a lot of corruption inside of the public school system involving bonds. And the Attorney General had looked into this, And they formed a fraud task force, and the actual official thing that came back is that everything was okay. And the tack that I took was there's a constitutional debt limit on bonds, and that's 6%. A school board cannot borrow beyond 6% of the appraised value. So I just want to make sure you knew that maybe when they get rid of that school, it'll change their appreciation calculation. And it might allow them to borrow more money and pass that on to the taxpayers for a new facility. Now, that being said, a new facility is better because you can borrow against it. And that's how the bond bracket works. So just be aware of that when you talk to them, that they're factoring in their constitutional debt limit, and make sure that the appraisal values for the property in the Moriarty Edgewood School District is accurate, and they're not inflated, and demand to see the data through public information. And you might have a little bit of a strategy there to make some headway with your problem. I also went through the SEC bond fraud complaint system. So as everybody knows, bonds are a municipal bond, right? And they have to go through the bond practices that the SEC controls. And so if you feel like there's a problem with that, that's an avenue through the whistleblower program to call the SEC also. So that's the only way you can have control of your tax dollars within the bond environment. And I worked on my particular problem for about a year and a half, and it took a lot of time. And in my opinion, we prevailed because some corruption really was turned off, and it really put the magnifying glass on cleaning up the act. And I personally really like the facility. I jog there every morning in the park. It's a great asset to have. And I just wanted to impart my experience to you of what I went through. And it can be really difficult taking on the school boards, especially if you don't know who they are and you don't know how they vote. So that's all I have to say.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Right.
Can I get your last name again? I'm sorry.
Colette?
Roulette?
G-A-L-L-E-T-T-E. And I live over on Kirk.
And Miss Hubbard's.
Cheryl Hubbard's 49 East Hill Ranch Road. This all sounds good, on the slides. I am concerned about hard feelings with the Moriarty Edgewood School District School Board. We have two representatives on the school board who live in Edgewood, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I know as a board, they try to do what's best for the whole district. That's what they're supposed to do. I know that they were gracious to the town, giving us the use of the north building with a very reasonable price of $9,900 a year. They paid for a new sewer line of $14K, and the new heating air conditioning system was $22K, and they're paying the yearly maintenance on the system. We get reduced utility rates on that building because it comes under the school district. So that reduces the town's expenses. I'm concerned that I don't know if we can't pursue this, if you're sure that this building is really able to be remodeled, refurbished, or whatever it's going to need. I haven't heard any figures thrown out here what that's going to cost the town, or what you're intending to pay the school district for the building as far as our town funds go. And if they don't want to sell it, which they've already said they don't want to sell it, they can this doesn't go through. I don't know who's going to make them sell it to us. If that's an intent of this commission I don't think this can go to civil court from district court. I don't believe it goes before PED. Maybe you can answer some of those questions I have on that. But I feel like we're antagonizing them and we don't get the building, we're kind of biting the hand that feeds us as far as the use of I'm not saying we don't pay that in taxes, but they still have control of the building. We do not. Okay, the other thing is, I would like to know more from why the school board wants to tear it down. I'd like to hear the other side of the story. So I did find out that one of the reasons they don't want to sell it is there's a well that supplies the Edgewood Middle School on the property. So that would be a problem for them. That's one thing I found out. And then I'm concerned that the Moriarty School District has had to hire attorneys to deal with the IPA requests, and it's cost the district $10,000. So that's our tax dollars too. As you say, we pay into it. Just stating my concerns. I'm not saying I'm absolutely for it or against it. And then, my mic's gone. Okay, sorry. Not good at public speaking, but, the town, I think we need to take caution and get the figures to present to the people what the real cost of this would be. I'm all for a community center. I think we need to have that need, definitely. I haven't seen inside that building, so I don't know what it looks like. I've heard this, I've heard that. I don't know. But we do have other buildings. The old town hall and the old community center is not getting utilized very good right now. So we're maintaining those. Maybe those would be sold, I don't know. I do know, I know the one thing that people want to is our roads done. And if we do deviate into too many things to spend our money on, and this would be our money, I don't know whether we can get state money to pay for this remodel if you were to get the school. Maybe we could get state money for a new building. We do already own land. These are all questions. These are questions I have. And we purchased a sewer system some years ago. Everybody thought that was the greatest idea in the world. It's done nothing but be a money pit for the town. So you've got to think of all the costs involved in maintaining the insurance. And I'd like to see those figures. And I don't know, if the school board doesn't agree, what is the recourse here? Can you answer some of those questions for me?
Sure, I'll give it a first shot, and then other commissioners can chime in, and we'll try to keep this brief. I know we have a lot more people that need to speak, but so using the district's facts, because you were asking, you weren't sure what they have said. They have a Q&A on their website, and I wouldn't state that everything is accurate on there, but some of the things that they've already answered. They stated that it would be $300,000 to repair the roof, so that's a repair, and that maintenance costs $25,000 a year to maintain the building. If there were improvements, that's something that the town could address and determine if we wanted to go that route. There's a lot of capital outlay money coming right now. The BIL, the ARPA funds, if we have an emergency operations center, we have a lot of that funding to cover those costs already. Federal and state legislators have heard of this issue and have actually offered to help us with this. So that's another source of funding. And you asked, why they want to do it. Well, we said that's kind of the multi-million-dollar question here, but the superintendent, she says it's a wash. So they state that the building's replacement cost, so to replace a building, is $400 to $450 a square foot according to the state. If we take $378 per square foot, which is the state is saying, that's $14 million replacement cost, right? That's not a wash with $300,000, okay? And then the other argument is the state-of-the-art elementary school. which we showed you. There's just not the enrollment to justify it right now. And so they're worried about the costs for them, and that they want to put our tax dollars into the buildings that have kids in it, but what they really mean is that have kids that go to the district. So that's fine, but then they could easily pass that on to the town. We passed a resolution, what was it, in April, committing to taking on the repairs and maintenance that it would cost, and according to them, it's $25,000 a year. As far as the IPRA, to that, I would say you can hire attorneys, on IPRA, or you can provide the information. It's public record, it's public information that, so we're kind of confused about that one. Let's see, I think those are the points that I had jotted down. Commissioners, do you have other points?
I just want to say that, I inspected the building thoroughly. It's a very sound structural building. You don't see any cracks anywhere in the walls, foundations, anything like that. It's really cosmetic and deferred maintenance. They've been letting that building deteriorate for years, allowing leaks through the roof, which would really just require some regular roof maintenance. Everybody has to go up and reseal around the vents and penetrations that come through the roof. So the other thing to keep in mind is if they knock that building down, in order for us to replace that, the capital costs, without probably even a swimming pool, just to continue the uses that are in there, would be upwards of $10 million. So the question is, the cost to maintain that building are minimal compared to trying to replace a building for $10 or $14 million. To me, it's a no-brainer. If it were my building, I would fix the roof, I would put some paint on it, and you'd have a tremendous asset. Thanks.
So just regarding the sewer issue that you mentioned, I personally like the idea that there's a Walmart down the street. I don't know if anybody else does. I like the fact there's a Smith's down the street. I like the fact that there's a Walgreens down the street. And those other businesses, the hotel, those can't exist without a sewer. So to say that the sewer is not a benefit to the town is not a fair statement. Edgewood is probably the most outside-in community in the state of New Mexico. What that means is probably 80% of the grocery receipts taxes that are paid in Edgewood are paid by non-residents, because we are the retail center of the East Mountains. And we are the retail center of the East Mountains because years ago, Commissioner Ring, former Mayor Sturley, and myself and some other people said we were willing to put in the sewer system. We knew it wasn't going to make money, but it was going to bring in a heck of a lot of taxes. It's our tax base. That's why we have a sewer, and that's why we pay for it.
Okay, former Councilor Linda Hawley. And next up is Shelley Hutchinson.
Thank you for this opportunity. In the mailing that you sent out, you said come and ask your questions and get information. So kind of follow along. I think it was Mr. Wilson that had those great 10 points. I was wondering if the town has done a cost-benefit analysis for this purchase.
So I would say yes to that, but in my opinion, the taxpayers have already paid for that building.
But it's still going to cost the town money, that we're not going to have to spend on other things. So that's what I was asking. So that has been done?
I think everyone here has opinions on that. Maybe you want to explain to us your opinion on cost benefit, because there's pros and cons that could be argued either way.
Well, I'd like to know if, you say it's been inspected, if you guys have gone through with your list, what it's going to cost to do this and that. You're going to talk about having more activities in there. I would assume that means more staff, more hiring. So again, I'm looking for pros and cons.
Sure, we'll share. That's fine.
The insurance costs. So maintenance then is the only item left, which is minimal, a couple of $1,000s a month. For the kind of facility that we would have, I mean, it's an incredible opportunity in my opinion.
So am I understanding then the town will be a landlord then to like a pre-K school or other entities?
There's governmental entities always have facility usage agreements, and they can lease if they choose to do so. And then also some of the programs that are existing, and I know Mr. Scott mentioned them and not settling, and you know, some of the programs that are existing, like the YES program, the Junior Police Academy, and others, you don't need new staffing, you just need to be able to use a perfectly good gym, for example.
Another question I had is, you said you made an offer to the school district. What was that offer?
We did make an offer to the school district, and so that, are you asking the dollar amount? The offer was to purchase. So we had a vote on that.
And you're talking purchasing both the north and south building, the property, and the well as well?
This, and I don't have the exact wording of the motion, but in general, I'll say it was for the south building, not the north building.
Okay.
Right? Because that's the one that they want to demolish.
Right, but I thought I had heard otherwise, that you wanted to purchase both buildings, the land underneath them, and the well.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have the exact wording, and that would have to be negotiated between the town and the district, you know, the specifics. And so it's in the negotiation phase. I know they have a meeting tomorrow night to discuss the offer, I believe. I mean, they have it on a closed session.
And so was there a dollar amount offered?
Yes, there was a dollar amount offered, and normally that stays in closed session while the negotiation process. I mean, the commissioners here all tonight can agree to, you know, to break privilege and do that, but I mean, I don't see that it's absolutely necessary. I mean, we made an offer.
As you know, you're a former counselor, you know that provision in the law that allows you to go into closed session and keep confidential negotiations is to keep somebody else from saying, well, the town of Edgewood is getting a great deal because they just made this offer. I'll just up it a little bit and then I'll get it.
I do understand that, but
so
there
you
were
understand
times
that.
when other counselors came out.
Yeah. So we're gonna, as long as it's negotiation, we want to do the best for Edgewood we can. So that will come out when there's an actual purchase agreement.
Okay. The other, I had a couple more comments, and that was that the town does own the community center, which is underutilized since there are no more town council or commission meetings there, and that's actually located right next to basketball courts and tennis courts. So we've got, you know, one of our own assets that we could probably put to use better. And in addition to that, we've got the old administrative building, which is sitting vacant with the great location on Route 66. Personally, I think the town of Edgewood needs to take care of its own assets and get its own house in order before trying to seize property that is not for sale. This action sounds to me like the land grab that Putin is doing over there in Ukraine. And then I did have one more question. I know Councilors Anaya and Jaramillo, you both served on the school district board, and I wondered if you were still representing the school district and the town of Edgewood launched an effort to purchase school buildings, possibly the water well, and property that it sat on. Would you protect those assets for the school system or give them up?
You can check my record, and I voted no every time to demolish any building.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was on the school board, my record will show as well that I was opposed to the school closure itself, and then absolutely thought it was very critical to repurpose if it had to close, the vote was to close. And I had just thanked you earlier for Councilor Abraham, but just to remind the public too that Councilor Hawley did go into negotiations with the district for use of that building of the South Complex there. I know you two proposed a lot of uses and leasing that building, and at least that was what was reported out. And so I was not involved in those conversations, but that's what was reported out. So it does have value, it does have purpose. I appreciate your questions. I think we answered most of them, but if there's more, you know, we will definitely share with you. Shelley Hutchinson. Do we have Miss Hutchinson? Okay, so this is our former Mayor Pro Tem, Chuck Green.
If I can stand up. When I moved here in 1985, I was a middle ager. Now I'm 81 and I'm an old man. So you'll have to forgive me if I make any mistakes or say anything that's not true. But listen, we went through one heck of a bunch of things the last several years. It's time to get back together and get down the road and play ball. I hope that anybody that's trying to skedaddle this thing without actually finding out what's going on, or just for the fun of it, will stop and we'll get on down the road. Thank you.
Shelley, or next is Naomi Bartram.
Hi, my name is Naomi Bartram, and I'm a local business owner. I work throughout the state of New Mexico. My children went to school here. They went to Moriarty High School. They went to Edgewood Elementary. I would like to see that building put into more active communities, not just geared towards, the kids, which is very important, but also geared towards older adult activities. Most recently, we had a wedding. Our youngest daughter got married, and Edgewood had no venue for it. We had to take it outside of Edgewood. I would like to see that building maybe offered for communities. People in this community are getting married, we're having kids, we're having grandkids. We have nowhere to host these events. You spoke of the community center, which is incredibly small. You cannot fit anybody in it. It's got zero use to the community. It's just entirely too small. We could use that building for venues, for community use, as it should be intended.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to point out that during voting, we do use the community center, and did use the community center several times this year, since the commission chambers are used for voting purposes. So the small, tiny little community center does still get used. I think an HOA, yeah, so. Okay, next. I'm not sure, is Shelley passing, or do we need to circle back to her? Okay. Or does that mean she left? Is that what you mean? Oh, okay, sorry. Just making sure I don't skip anyone here. All right, Anthony Gonzalez, and then Janie. Anthony. Okay, and then Janie's over here. Next will be Christian Menley. Miley, sorry.
Hello, my name is Janie Klatt. I am Madam Mayor and the commissioners and neighbors here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity for our community to come out and speak tonight, because this is very important. And you told us when we voted for you that you were going to give us the opportunity to let our voices be heard. So thank you for that. I appreciate that from all of you. And as an Edgewood Animal Shelter Advisory Board appointed member and a licensed registered veterinary technician licensed in the state of New Mexico, when the Doghead fire hit, how many of you guys remember that? Okay? That was a big deal, okay? And it ravaged a lot of our community. And the neighbors down there, I heard an announcement that they were taking animals at Los Vecinos, which is the community center in Tijeras. So I went down there and I offered my help. And I worked down there diligently beside these people for days. We took in, I would say, over 150 animals. We had ducks, chickens, goats, dogs, cats. I mean, you name it. A poor hen that was trying to lay an egg that was egg bound, and I had to help her out. But we don't have any place like that here in Edgewood. What if we had a wildfire? It's not an if, it's a when. We don't have any place big enough to be able to help people with that. And so, literally, we need to be able to have this building because we could use the gymnasium like we did at Los Vecinos. We could use all of those things. And another use could be a commercial kitchen. I know that they stripped the kitchen out of that school, but that could be a commercial kitchen where people who want to make salsas, jams, things like that that require a commercial kitchen for you to be able to sell it, could have little home businesses. Okay? And then, so I'm a twofer here, sorry. One of my neighbors asked me to read something. Many of you know her. Her name is Rita Loy.
Okay, so former counselor of the town, Rita Loy Simmons.
Yes.
Thank you.
She is my friend and she is my neighbor. And she said, hello again. I'm reading exactly what she wrote. I have asked Janie to give you my thoughts. This is Moriarty School's second attempt to arrest development in Edgewood. Most home development is in Edgewood. 2 charter schools have developed because of the school district's short-sightedness. We supported a center for the arts and find it is underutilized. Why are you not planning better for the center of growth? Tearing down a useful building that can be repurposed and build your next project on section 16 or on the 40 acres of Highway 344 and Frost Road, where the youngsters don't have to be bused so far. Are you attempting to the Edgewood area to form its own school district? Is this a case to follow the dollars? Thank you, Rita Loy Simmons. I told her perfect and with a flair. Christian?
Hi, I'm Christian Miley. Bought a place out here 46 years ago. A place to land, now I'm finally back and retired. The gymnasium is nothing to waste. I would have some place to go jump in the wintertime. And other people would learn. But mostly, I grew up in the North Valley in Albuquerque in a cinder block house that sweated in the wintertime because of the moisture in the air. And that's what we have here. 25 years ago, I went to Tucson and studied with a guy named Mats Meerman. He started one of the first straw bale buildings in the Southwest in modern history. And he had a cinder block building that he couldn't rent next to it, that it's cinder block. And they get too hot in the summertime, too cold in winter. Well, in Albuquerque, too cold out here, too cold in wintertime. So he enveloped it with straw bales all around the outside, stuck with it, put a new roof on it, and started a revolution in Tucson. So I think that's something else that should be considered, not just restoring, but improving the building. Energy's going to get more and more expensive. I think we've seen that. We can also guess that. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Smith.
I live here in Edgewood, and I just had a couple of thoughts. I had a
Bring
daughter.
up to, thank you.
I'm sorry. I thought I was loud enough anyway. I had a daughter that was on a school bus, and this is not here, but the driver was stoned, and the bus rolled, and there were 18 that were hurt a lot. So to me, when you say 200 kids no longer attend that elementary school, part of it is because they're going 10 miles down a highway away out of their own home. I mean, they're local here, maybe a mile from home, and you're hauling them 10 miles on a highway with semis. There was no need for that, in my opinion. I think this was a tremendous loss to Edgewood to lose that elementary school. And it would be a terrible loss to tear down a perfectly good building that could be, maintained for very little money. And the building, they're not giving it to anybody, or it's not for sale or whatever. It's ours. We paid for it once already with our tax dollars. So this to me is just a waste of breath. We own the damn thing, so let's just tell them how it is. And if you think about this, there's $27 million in that budget.
Well, there were in recent years from 14 to 21, and I didn't have 22 numbers, but in the audited numbers, 27 million in capital projects, like capital improvements, like buildings and things like that were done.
Okay, so then I think we need an accountability. In my figures, that means 20.25 million is owed to us. So there's plenty to fix that building. And that's a pool, that's right. We got 20 million that they owe us, so let's get them off their butt and do this. I just think that's ridiculous. So, and my thinking, like you brought up, these people are elected from our what do you call them? Yeah, the commission, well, no, they're not commissioners, they're students.
School board members.
There you go, from our districts? Yes. Who are the ones that are in our districts that are supporting Moriarty's desires? We need to know who that is, and we need to get together as a group and find out who would like to run, and let's get them replaced. Because we need a voice, and we need our money spent in our town. So, oh yeah, we voted once to clear the panel, and look what we got. We got a working group here that's doing fantastic.
Gail, you wanted to know who is representing Moriarty Edgewood School District?
Yeah, who's there on there that's representing us that's doing such a poor job?
Well, all of them. But anyways, they are having a meeting tomorrow to discuss this very issue. It is a public meeting.
They'll go into closed session and then come out of that.
But the two right now that are supposed to represent the town of Edgewood, the ones that I know is Linda and Wendy.
So those are the incumbents. We want to make damn sure do not get reelected and find some really good quality individuals. Get a voice for us.
All right, thank you. The third one is Elizabeth Howes.
Can I get the name of the one before? I'm sorry.
That's Gail Smith. Gail Smith, is that you're asking?
Right, yeah. Okay. Wendy, is it Lassie?
Yeah, yes.
Next, Jeff.
Hello. Unlike so many of you, I am pretty new here. My husband is career Air Force, and just recently retired. Now, 3.5 years ago, we were stationed in Montana. He came home one day and he said, "Dear, I think I have orders. Where are we going?" He said, "Albuquerque, New Mexico." I said, "I will only go on 2 conditions. I will not live in Albuquerque. And we will buy a home so that I can finally have our horses in my yard." Agreed. Since then, he had the opportunity to retire. We chose to stay here. Of our 6 children, 2 still live at home. They go to school with Moriarty Edgewood School District. This is breaking my heart. You guys, this is about the kids, right? Isn't that what the school district's supposed to be doing? Representing for the kids. We're doing attorney fees now. That's money that's taking away from not just my kids, grandkids, other people's children, the kids you see in the neighborhood. We're fighting this for an old building. You say you've got $900,000. Isn't that what I heard, Mr. Powers?
I'm sorry?
$900,000?
That's what the school board applied for from the state to knock the building down.
Okay, that's not what you have an offer for then.
No,
Because I never did hear whether a yes or no if you had a cost analysis. The one lady had asked yes or no if you had done a cost analysis on buying the school, on the repairs. I know there's asbestos in the school. I don't want my kids in a school with asbestos. Doesn't that require repair? I know that seems funny to you.
What's funny to me is that there were kids in there for 40 years and they only brought up the asbestos recently when they wanted to knock the building down.
So you're willing to let the kids still go to the school, knowing there's asbestos in there now?
I'm an
Now that
asbestos
it's
remediation contractor, and I can tell you that what they're talking about is the glue under the floor tile. That as long as asbestos is encapsulated and sealed, which it is, it's not a problem, which is why they let kids go there for 40 years. This is a red herring that they're throwing up now.
Okay, so when you do your cost analysis, you will have that in there?
Yes.
In the cost analysis, the asbestos, the roof, any structural repairs, the HVAC system that needs to be done. I think that was a COVID thing, wasn't it?
No, they ripped those systems out.
Okay.
They were functioning well.
So, regardless, I know they had to put a lot of HVAC systems in just so that our kids could go back to school when they were stuck at home through COVID. By the way, thank you so much. I know it wasn't just Edgewood, but those Chromebooks were a lifesaver. So that, again, the kids in the entire school district, Edgewood, Moriarty, Stanley, everywhere, so they can continue to go to school. I want to thank each and every one of you for helping to provide that. I think there's a lot of kids that wouldn't have been able to have much of an education without it, whether you had that building there or not. And then upgrades to the fire alarm system. There's just so much that needs to be considered here. Me as an outsider, I know, I'm new here. We've experienced so much in our travels, and it's so sad to me that such a wonderful community where we chose to stay, because the people here you guys are more amazing than most of the people we've met, and we've gone a lot of places. You've welcomed us, and we appreciate that so much. Please don't cause a divide. Maybe we should have some open meetings with you and with the school district.
We did invite them to do that.
Okay, so let's try harder. Let's try to work something out. Let's figure it out. Let's get facts on your side, facts on their side. Let's put it together so that we can all make an informed decision.
This is exactly what we're doing here tonight, and I
We-
agree with you.
We invited the school board to be here tonight, and I don't know that any one of them showed. Is there any of
Yeah.
the school board members?
Some
here?
of them did show.
Who is here?
All the ones that you keep saying suck.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Your elected school board members from Edgewood area are here. How long ago was this decision made to close that school?
The decision was made in school year 2013-14.
Okay. Mr. Oh, my eyes are going. At the end, this gentleman here.
Commissioner Anaya.
Yes. When were you on the school board?
For 12 years, starting 2020. So that would be 2012.
In 2012. So you were part of that decision then to close the school?
Repeat, please.
Were you there for that decision to close the school, or was that made prior?
No, it was after.
It was after. Okay. After you were there?
I was there till 2012.
Until 2012.
Right.
Okay. All right. So it was made right afterwards.
And I did go to the meetings and fight for the town of Edgewood for them not to close the building.
Okay. And it was closed due to the cost, correct?
It was
Because
closed.
we had so many fewer kids. We couldn't keep it open, you know. There was a Moriarty school closed also. There were two schools that were closed, one in Moriarty and one in here. This one, correct? I would just highly encourage, guys, let's not do this Edgewood against Moriarty. Let's try to have a meeting. Let's get everyone together. Let's not watch clips of a interview. Let's watch the whole thing.
So are you advocating to knock down the building? Is that your position?
No, I am not. I'm not advocating to keep it open either. I want all the facts. I want to see that cost analysis. I want to know, so do you want to use it for a swimming pool, or do you want to use it for...
Sit back and watch, you'll see it.
What is your plan with it? Right, but what is that plan? I've heard ideas, I have. So I would be interested in seeing that cost analysis. I'll pass it over.
Okay.
So if you want to come into town hall anytime, we can sit down and talk. I'll be glad to disclose
that would be
whatever
great.
you'd like to see.
All right, I'll get with you then.
All right.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes.
Could you hear me? I'll try now. It's not going to be a school. We're not tearing down a school. We're building a community center for everyone. Excuse me?
She's saying that you have to rebuild a lot of that school, a lot of the cost.
No, we don't know that. We've had...
Mr. Powers did say
So what?
it was $20,000 to replace the roof, and then said it's $30,000 to do it. So the cost comparison is changing as we go along. You said you went in and inspected. I just want those simple things as a business owner myself. How you can say you go in and inspect those things. Are you licensed to do that? Are you licensed to go out and do those things? Or are you getting somebody professional to go in and get that cost analysis that's happening in there?
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And so right now, let's keep it to the person who has the microphone. Mayor Pro Tem Powers, will you answer a couple of the questions that they had?
Sure. Are you asking me what my licensing is as a contractor?
No, you said you were a contractor. You said you did asbestos thing.
Right.
And you said you went in and inspected. That is a different license, right?
Okay, guys, let's go ahead and keep
You
it
want-
to the person who has the microphone.
They want to spend the money to refurbish that instead of refurbish the community center. There's a cost analysis that needs to be done for both to get those points across to everybody so we know what's actually being spent. And that's what I care about, is what we're spending it on, that we're able to use it for everybody. You said homeschooling can be used in these buildings. They've been using your offices. These points all need to be made. If you're where you're spending the money, where the money's getting spent, how much you're actually spending that money on, instead of just saying the school district's not working with us. It's not fair.
So, sir, I can answer some of those questions. We made every approach we could possibly make. Some of the school board members are here. They can confirm this. They would not talk to us. We were going to have an intergovernmental panel meeting, and we invited them here tonight. And apparently they came, but they didn't want to come to the intergovernmental open meeting where we could openly discuss the logic or illogic of what's happening with that building. So this isn't about fighting with anybody. We proposed a win-win. We want to buy the building. We want to provide enough money for another building site. We want to save them $900,000. This could be an absolute win-win. That's what's so crazy about this situation. It's not about fighting, but when the people of Edgewood are not getting fair treatment, and they paid for so much of this and gotten so little, I mean, that's the least we think should happen from the district. And it's not going to cost the district anything. So I really don't understand all of this. I mean, I don't know what you're saying, that we're fighting with the district. And the only option you have when people are running over you is to stand up or lay down. And we were voted in to represent the people of Edgewood. I've heard a lot of the people here. We've had a huge outcry from the public. Hundreds of petitions have been signed. So I'm not sure what your point is, sir, but we're not fighting with anybody. We had this meeting as a partial attempt and invited them so that they could hear from the members of Edgewood. And who are they fighting? They're fighting these people.
I need to interrupt. I didn't catch your name, sir.
Mine is Jeff.
Jeff.
How many of you've heard tonight some comments about legal fees that the board is expending. How many people have a question about that, want to hear about that?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I have a question I'd like to hear about.
Okay. So can we put up in the grab bag, there's a lawsuit threat letter. I think it's number 39. So the district has said that there was a threat of legal action, and that's why they quit talking to us. But what they didn't tell you is they're the only ones who threaten legal action. They sent us this letter. Let me see. Yeah, there's the text of the letter right here. And they're at the bottom paragraph, next to the last, MESD may bring claims under the Act for any intentional or negligent wrongdoing of the town of Edgewood and its officers regarding IPRA requests. Any additional claims may also bring for pain and suffering that it has experienced. So we asked for the costs to demolish the building. They wouldn't provide it. We asked for the asbestos reports to substantiate what it is and where it is, if it is there at all. So we asked for normal things to try to evaluate what should happen with that building. And they send us this letter threatening to sue us. Now, every governmental agency in New Mexico has to abide by this IPRA law. IPRA stands for Inspection of Public Records Act. So when somebody sends a written request in, the agency has time to respond, a short period of time, and you can only withhold certain things that are highly confidential, like people's personal identification numbers, social security numbers, or anything that is legal privilege. So we have tried, and this is the kind of response we've gotten. I mean, it's not just like we're arguing back and forth. We've opened up and said we'll do whatever we can to work with you, and this is the response we're getting.
The bottom line on this, guys, is that the town manager requested information from the district, and she did it under the IPRA law, or at the federal level, it's called FOIA. So maybe some of you have heard of that, but it's public record. This is your public dollars that are being spent. It's public record, right? So when there's a request, they go through, and so the district has now said that they're going to sue us for pain and suffering for following the IPRA law.
I would be ashamed to say that I was suffering emotional distress because somebody sent me an information request. And in order to represent you all, we have to have the information to make a smart decision. You have to have it too. We had to get it and bring it to you so we could hear from you.
Yeah, so those of you who are asking for, more information, more facts, it's something that the town manager was trying to attain, trying to get, and what we get in response is a letter claiming pain and suffering and emotional distress for providing public information. Okay, next on our list we have Robert Rosales.
So I know it's kind of strange me being here since I'm never
Can you
at
turn
home
up the
anymore.
volume on that one, please?
I don't want to.
There you go.
So I just want to kind of take y'all back a little bit here. The school here never used to be a middle school. Where the north building's at was upper elementary. That's where I went to school at. When I moved over to Moriarty Middle School, had to be bused over there. I seen they were building a new building. That would be Mountain View Elementary. When I asked them why we're building that, is that our new middle school? They said, no, that's the elementary school. The plan was to shut down Edgewood Elementary School. That was in the mid-'80s. Their solution? Bus everybody from Edgewood to Moriarty because it's Moriarty School District and Edgewood didn't matter. That was back in the mid-'80s. We're in the same spot. We're trying to save a building for us to use as a community center, and the school board is still telling us we don't matter. To me, this is not about the money it's going to take to save it. It's the attitude of Moriarty School District. We need to start talking to those school board members and explain to them that this attitude of Moriarty versus Edgewood has got to go away. It's been here since the 80s. It's 2022, almost 2023. Let's start working together.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to say that if the current board members are stonewalling us and won't work with us, then Edgewood doesn't have a voice. And the election is coming up next year. If members get elected that are willing to listen and represent 75% of the population of the district here, that would be a good thing.
I do also want to add that in any type of intergovernmental cooperation, what that takes is, you have to have compromise and understanding on both sides, a representation of the people and the voice of the people who elected you. And you can't just say, oh, you guys just need to all get along. Well, that's the way it is when one side is not willing to work with the other. They accuse the other of not getting along, right? So as long as everybody does what the school board wants, or vice versa, then, that's what everybody says, just get along. Well, that's what we've been proposing for months and months and months. And the proof of that is all there. We've made many invitations, many requests, and I'll be happy to provide that to anyone who's questioning that. So let's see, who do we have next? Debbie Brennan. And next, Diane Sturley.
Thank you. Thank you for having this tonight. It's really important. I think a lot of things that I'm hearing tonight should be addressed with the school board. Their meeting is the third Tuesday of every night at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock over at Mountain Valley School. You should be there telling them that they need to listen to you. What's going on here is the building. The building is for our community, it's for our kids, it's for our seniors, it's for all of us. It has so much potential. An animal evacuation center, and God forbid, if there's a wildfire or something that we need to use. It's an EOS building. You can let us know. I've seen the interstate shut down. It was shut down this year for a fire. Those people sat there for 6 hours or better. If that was here, they could have gone to the community center. We do have a community center. It's a little one. I was reading all the reviews on it for small events. I've been to that community center. You get 15 cars in that parking lot and it's full. There's one bathroom for 50 people. Is that a small event? One bathroom. There is no kitchen, and there are some restrictions on the use of that building. And you can only have one event at a time. If we bought this building and we rehabbed it, converted it, turned it into a multi-use building, you can have more than one event. You can have a commercial kitchen. You can have the auditorium to rent out for events, weddings, birthday parties. We could do our expos there, our 4-H clubman stuff could be done there. We could have classes for our adults on maybe computer learning. My mother would love that. Tai Chi, anything for all of us. I know we all talk about a pool. A pool would be wonderful. Best place to be would be the community center. Kids could do their swimming lessons. Mom could take a painting class. It's all right there. You don't have to shuffle around town to all these different areas. The whole family could use it. I think that we should definitely try to take over this building and take it under our wings. Either have them sell it to us, lease it to us so we can take over the payments and the insurance and the maintenance on it. I don't understand. They're getting money, and we're giving them money, we're offering them money, and they're digging their heels in that we don't want you to even have the building. So I don't understand that, and I do try to bring that up with the school board, but nothing's happening. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Just a clarification, the school board's meeting tomorrow evening is at 5 o'clock at Mountain View or central office on Route 66 at 5 o'clock. It's a special meeting, so for this topic, I believe. Diane Sterling and then Nicholas Agami.
I just want to say straight up that I am absolutely opposed to them demolishing that building. That building has unlimited possibilities. It's just incredible. Everybody here had some great ideas of what we could use that building for. That building, the gym, is actually a revenue generator. I have actually in this valley, I've lived here 45 years, and I have produced so many events, but not here in Edgewood because there was no venue. So I hold them in Moriarty. They have a great community center. They're very friendly and welcoming because they know that events bring in revenue. Revenue that we can use for roads, swimming pools, whatever else that the town decides they want. But it is a revenue builder. Whether it's a small, intimate event or in Moriarty, they have statewide conventions in their community center. I think we're really missing a huge opportunity by not pressuring them. I think that every one of us here and some of the people that left should actually congregate at that meeting for the school board. You know, it's nice that we're talking about next year to run and replace people in November. That's going to be too late for what they're considering now. We need to get together. I remember the first time around with this, back in the middle, I forgot, 06, 07, when they were trying to do this before. I was there then. I actually commented at the meetings they had out in Moriarty on this very event that they had. And I know that my husband was the mayor, and we didn't want the school torn down, but we said, if you're going to do it, we were going through the same thing we're doing right now, please let the town have it. We were thinking about maybe putting a community college, any type of community things that we could do. And a lot of the people had some of the same ideas. I don't know what happened with that. You know, they closed the school, but we didn't do anything with it. Back in the I guess it was 06 or 07 also, the city of Santa Fe was trying to come down to the Estancia Valley and Estancia and take the water. As soon as we found out about it, Bob and the mayor of Estancia and Moriarty and Mountain Air all got together and sent out all kinds of emails and messages. We got on buses and we stormed the Santa Fe County meeting that they had. It lasted, I think, till 3 in the morning because everybody came out and rallied to not take our water and ship it to Santa Fe. We stopped it. Of course, we started a fund because we know they'll probably come back. So we have money set aside to hire an attorney if they try it again. We can do the same thing here. We can rally and we can go to those meetings as a group and let them know how we feel. We don't want to be an adversary to them, but we don't want them to be our adversary either. We need to work together if they'll work with us, but it doesn't sound like they're being very friendly right now. So we need to do what we can to protect what we do have and what the unlimited possibilities that we have in those buildings.
Thank you very much. Nicholas. We have Nicholas Hagerty.
But the only question I had.
Go ahead and say it, and then we'll
All
just
right.
try to keep it brief.
One thing, okay, here's what I want to ask. Is there a limit as to how many inoperable junk vehicles anybody could have on one property? And if there's not, why isn't there a limit to how many junk vehicles?
Yes, you have the P&Z administrator right here.
You need to, you have to talk to the New Mexico legislature. They, in their infinite wisdom, passed a law that does not limit. Now we can, but we can't put it, you have to have a fence around it. They cannot be seen from the road. So that's what we're working on now. So
You don't have it as of right now.
we do, but we have to kind of also balance that with state law. We're working on it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Next is Kay Tanis. And Kay, are you in here? Okay, so she was the last one that actually put her name down. Now we're going to move to anyone who wants to speak can just raise your hand, but I'm going to ask you to, just out of respect for everyone else, please try to keep it very brief so that others can talk as well. Okay, go ahead, Tony.
So I'm Tony, and we're from Tony's Service Center. My dad's here. He's been in business in Edgewood for over 50 years. So we've seen Edgewood grow where that school didn't even exist. So I knew Howard Conkins, I've known all the old Bassett's, everybody who's old here. But I'll be honest with you guys, to see that building go the way they want it to go doesn't make sense as a business owner. And I'll be honest with you, so we used that school to do a little car show on the 4th of July for the community. There's no way we could do that car show at the old, community center. You couldn't have a car show there. You couldn't have big events there. It's just not feasible. So, and I'm not going to give Walmart another chance to have another big car show because they get Father's Day already, so that's enough. But Edgewood needs a place to go have fun. And I think that's a great place. And not to be mean or bashing Moriarty, but it goes back to when Howard Conkins used to tell me stories when he was a kid, the fights he used to have with Moriarty kids because it was Edgewood versus Moriarty. So it goes back, way back, before any of you guys were here, basically, other than the Hills and some of the Bassetts that are here. Whoever else is here has been here forever, like us or my dad. But I think you guys are doing a great job up there for the town of Edgewood, trying to work and get things rolling, I guess, for us. Because Moriarty doesn't want to. So we need to stand up as a community and say, hey man, we need a place. We need a place here. So
So Reed.
Hi, my name is Reed Jackson. Been here not very long, 31 years. This isn't about, for me, this isn't about the community. This isn't about the kids. This is about governmental malfeasance and representation that stinks to high heaven for corruption. There's absolutely no reason that the Moriarty Edgewood School District can provide or has provided to us that has reasoning that is understandable for knocking down this building and not repurposing it for no cost of their own. Now, when you say they'll save $900,000, no, they won't. They'll save $900,000 of my tax dollars. That's not their money. They don't even have their money. They haven't had it appropriated to them. They're going to ask for more of my tax dollars to knock down a building that has great worth. That is governmental malfeasance. Now, I worked for 31 years with governmental officials. I was not a government employee. I was a private person. But I worked all the way through Washington, state government, local government, and international governments. I know what corruption looks like. Anybody who was representing the folks on the school board in this decision, they may have the right motives, but it looks bad. And looks matter when it comes to representation of the people who voted you in. So, this isn't about our community. Our community can benefit greatly from this facility, no doubt about it. This isn't about saving money. This is about doing what is right in the representation of the people who voted you in. And I don't know anyone in the school district other than the school board who thinks this is a good idea. So if there really is good reasoning, show up and defend your decision. Otherwise, get off your high horse, because they're voted in by people who don't agree with these decisions because they don't understand the decisions. So if there really is good reasoning, show up and say it. Defend the position you have taken. I've had to do it my entire career. I defended right from wrong in front of governmental officials. And sometimes I won, sometimes I didn't. But I was willing to fight the good fight. If there's a good fight to fight here, show up and fight. But don't do it behind closed doors. Don't do it in private session. Don't do it hiding behind Public Records Acts. Don't spend my money to not give me public information. That is governmental malfeasance. And that pisses me off.
Hi, my name is Nicole Sinclair, and I am a co-organizational 4-H leader in Santa Fe County. Our club is the Route 66 Sharpshooters, and we've been meeting for over 10 years in Edgewood. Our enrollment numbers can be as high as 40 youth, ranging in age from kindergarten through high school seniors. We have kids participating in a wide variety of projects, including showing large and small animals, archery, sewing projects, arts and crafts, citizenship, leadership, rocketry, and many more. We also participate in a highway cleanup twice a year in Edgewood, along with other community events. We believe kids learn best by having hands-on experiences and strive to make our monthly meetings reflect this. Typically, throughout the year, our club members will participate in learning how to make different types of food, having a talent show, having a dance during the holidays, learning how to make rope, or even build a rocket. In the past 8 years, we were fortunate enough to be able to meet at a local church that had a large gym and multiple rooms. Unfortunately, due to policy change at the church, we are no longer able to meet there. This happened right around the start of the pandemic. During the pandemic, we were not able to meet in person, so we met online. After the pandemic, we started the search for a meeting place and we're shocked to find that Edgewood really didn't have a place that would accommodate our club. All other communities around us have a community center to meet in. We called churches and local schools and we're told no for one reason or another. We also contacted other businesses in the Edgewood area and most charged a fee our club couldn't afford, or the meeting space was too small. Places that we could meet that would accommodate us are a far distance from Edgewood and would not be easy for our members to get to. We did end up holding our meeting at the current Edgewood Community Center last year and found it a very difficult building to have activities in because of the way sound travels in there and also the small size. As you can imagine, having 30 plus kids in the small room doing multiple activities at a time gets very loud very quickly. Our town is in desperate need of a community center. If the old Edgewood Elementary building could serve as this for the time being, our club would have plenty of room for all of the different activities we participate in and would also be an excellent location. One other thing I just wanted to say is a lot of our kids are excelling. They are amazing kids. We have my son here, he still wants to. Sherry Abraham has helped us to look into building a bike park in the town of Edgewood, and through 4-H, she was able to raise funds for that to happen. We also have kids for multiple years who have gone to Washington, D.C. and been state representatives for healthy living. So our tiny little club here in Edgewood is doing amazing things, and we really want a place where we can meet that will accommodate us, and we just don't have a place right now, and we really need it.
Thank you so much. Very good.
Hello, my name is Barry Olson, and I live on 9 Designer Court, which is off of Dinkle Road. And I just wanted to put a plug in for, first of all, I'm for keeping the school and not tearing it down and having the Edgewood community take it over from the school district if the school district would allow that to happen. But I wanted to put a plug in for a emergency community center. I have a lot of family in Fort Myers, Florida. And they're all okay. But Sanibel Island and Fort Myers Beach community are wiped out. Okay? People are living under tarps. So we have a major federal highway here that I remember 4 years ago, I got 26 inches of snow at one snowstorm the day after Christmas at my house. Everybody was shut down, highways and everything. I have a large four-wheel drive tractor. That's the only thing with a plow that can even get out on the road. None of the neighbors' four-wheel drives, lifted vehicles would even work it then. And there's people stuck on that freeway. Having a designated center for that you can put into action when those things happen means something. And where I'm going with this too is that FEMA is expanding its reach and efforts and actually money that they give out to areas with emergency action centers and shelters. We could say, hey, we can provide shelter for people on the highway there. When the hotels fill up immediately on that, there may be FEMA dollars that you could get and take some of the burden off the city, and they buy stocks and things like that. We have a wonderful police department and a fire department. If we actually get that designated as partial shelter usage, they can put it in their action plans and actually have that going. Like I said, somebody else could help with the burden of funding and maybe supporting the facility, which would help on that. We don't have hurricanes here, but we can have fires. And I remember 4 years ago, we had a microburst hit on Venus Road. I mean, it just sheared off 13 poles. I was without power for 3 days, okay? And now I moved down from Alaska, so my house is wired to a generator and stuff, and so I was able to run on that. I learned that trick up in Alaska, never have your house without a generator. But, there was a lot of people who lost all of their food in the refrigerators and things like that, had no place to go. So it's something to consider on that. I just want to put that plug in there. That could be a very important thing as we go out, and it's recognized that we have a shelter right here in Edgewood that can be converted and used for that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just to add to that, there's one over here, Brad. Young lady. I just wanted to add to that. I mentioned it earlier, but the town has been awarded ARPA funds, which are emergency-related funds that can be used for capital projects. And so I believe it's, I don't know the exact dollar amount, it might be 1.4 or 1.6 million. I know it's over $1 million, let's just put it that way, that the town has not yet spent a dime. And so this would be a perfect opportunity to do that. Yeah, and of course not all of that could be spent for emergency operations, you know, because there would be other uses as well for the facility. But just wanted to point out that there is already a funding source for that. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexa. I was born and raised here. I'm 19 years old. I was raised at the Edgewood Elementary School. I went there until it closed, and I was in Moriarty High School, and I can say that as much as I loved it, I hated it. They never had my best interest in mind. It was really disappointing because I am someone who is very involved, and it was really sad to see that the school board in general never had my best interest. They never cared about what, especially my senior year, I graduated through COVID, and it was really sad to see that they didn't care about, I mean, huge things, my graduation, I mean, stupid things also, ditch day, you know, they were so focused on politics and how that should matter to what the government thinks versus what the kids, what matters to the kids. I am going to say I stand for Edgewood Elementary to become a community building for all of us. I know my mom's with me today. Like I said, I'm very involved, and I go to Albuquerque almost 3 times a week because there's nothing out here that suits my needs. And I know my mom would be a lot more happy if I had somewhere to go on the weekends that was here. It would help save a lot of money for me. I mean, I don't know. It's really difficult for me to, especially with how much time I've spent in the school board, and I always had a voice. I was not afraid to speak up for what I believe in, and I'm really glad that you guys are out here trying to speak for us, and I hope that you guys get to say something in general, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Erin Kilburn, and I've been out here in Edgewood for about 14 years. And I do agree that the elementary school should stay. It has great value. Everybody here seems to feel that that is the case. I'm also a member of the East Mountain Citizens Emergency Response Team. And unfortunately, because there is no place here in Edgewood, when there is the snow, we have to go all the way to Moriarty to take people who are on the interstate, who cannot find a place to live, and get them and house them in their community center. And currently we actually have Torrance County who has helped us out, and we have a building that we can use off of the old 66. But it would be a lot nicer if we could do something here in Edgewood, because sometimes it's just right up here in the old hill that we can use it and get them converted over here. So having a place in the community where we can use that would be great. Now, my other point that I'm trying to understand here is that it seems like we don't want this building to go. So what's the next step that we can take? I mean, where are we going with this? I mean, it seems to me that the one step is that we go to this meeting tomorrow, but what after that? What happens if the board says no? Where do we go from there? What plans? I mean, it seems like you're going to go up to 7th A, correct?
Right, October 11th at the state capitol at 1:30.
Right, but
and so what has happened is, I love where you're thinking. What has happened is they have tabled using their own funds until they find out if the state is going to award them funds, which they don't qualify for, by the way, according to state statute. And so, but anyway, that decision will be on the 11th in Santa Fe. And then from there, I guess it would be up to We don't want to use our own money that should be going to kids, right? And so maybe we can work with something with the town. And that's our hope. I mean, we really want a win-win. So we, it's in their hands in some ways at this point. So we're just encouraging them to just listen to you all and look at the facts and come around.
Thanks. Can I catch your name again?
Mary Coburn, C-O-C-K-B-U-R-N.
Yes, we will go on the 11th.
I'm Gary Hill, and I live on Dingle Road across from the school building. A large group of us went to the school board meeting, I think it was last month, and they were gracious enough to let us get up and speak, each one of us, and then they took an immediate vote against us. It took 2 minutes. So that's how long they considered our discussion and all of the time we spent talking with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simons.
Yeah, my name is Bryce Simons, and you'll have the pleasure of listening to my other half a little bit ago, so I'm going to finish this for us. I wanted to add the fact that I've known the superintendent for a while through other groups that we're co-members of, and I tried to get a meeting set up where just between her and me and some friends, so we could just discuss on a friendly basis, an informal basis, what the realities, what the facts, what the ramifications, what the pros and cons were. And she shut me down cold. And subsequent to that, I went to a school board meeting where all of a sudden I heard about an appraiser whose objectivity was certainly subject to question, who came up with a behind-the-scenes appraisal about all these problems with the school, the HVAC, the fire alarm, all the other stuff they've been throwing in our face. But there's never been any substantive, credible documentation. There's certainly never been any effort by the school board to have a joint appraisal done with someone that would represent our interests. And so consequently, we're being forced to accept this force feeding of conclusions upon which nothing but a biased appraiser can be leaned on to support these things. So I would offer the thought that if the school district is serious, if we've got a school board representative over here somewhere who's seriously representing our interests, then he needs to go back to that school board and he needs to represent that we need to negotiate in good faith. We need to negotiate with fair representatives from both parties to confirm the credibility of the numbers that are being used. Until we get that opportunity, all we can do is force that and told to shut up. So, just wanted to add that.
Anyone else? No, thank you. Evelyn.
Hi, my name is Evelyn McGarry, and I just have one thing to say, to put it on record. I want a public pool in this town.
Amen. Thank you.
There are quite a few Facebook comments if you want me to read them.
Okay. Can you kind of briefly?
Just do them quick. Most of them are just saying that they do want to keep the school, and a few people have said that they feel that the school board could care less about Edgewood. A lot of people are saying that they are trying to do different classes throughout the night or during the week and whatnot, that they're trying to find space to do. Let me see this lady. I know I saw yoga was mentioned. Someone said it's our tax dollars built and it's dirty and good and this should just be repurposed. One person did ask if the argument here is people want it torn down and put new, and others want to upgrade and fix it up for less cost of a brand new building. So I think what he's trying to ask is the argument that some people want it torn down and rebuilt, and then the other side is that we want to keep it and it'll be more cost effective. That's what I'm understanding.
So let me, for the record, let me answer that. So it's not a competition between between some people want to keep it as a school and others the others want to build a new school. They're going to build a new school eventually if the enrollment increases enough. Could be 10 or 15 years. This is really about the loss of a potential community center building for Edgewood. If they knock that down, Edgewood would have to replace that building. We would have to spend 10 to 14 million. It seems crazy to me to knock it down when there's no benefit to the school board. They can build on the next lot over. So that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, the New Mexico State Land Office has Section 16 designated, as we mentioned before, for schools, and it's a simple. I talked to the Deputy Land Commissioner, Sunile Stewart, and he did mention that it's a simple application that the district can do. They apply for the land. Of course, they're going to be given any preference, in any way no one else is applying for it, right? And then they can have a simple lease or a purchase. They could do a purchase of land as well. So the new state-of-the-art school does not have to go in the same location, and that's the point we were making earlier.
Yeah, can you put that slide up for number 26, site options? So this is the 1 mile square school section. It could go anywhere. It could go right here, right next to Town Hall. Go right next to the old Edgewood Elementary. It would have an entrance off of Dingle instead of 344, which is less traffic. I mean, there's no reason that they can't choose a site somewhere in that entire section.
That's right, and the high school is designated up in that other corner up there. So for the Edgewood High School. So, and many of you in here remember that promise.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, sir. Do we have a mic?
My name is Clay Williams. I've been living out here in Edgewood since 1976. I run a business in a building I gave $1 for. And that building needed a little work when I bought it. And now it's Church Street Market. If any of you have been over there, I've spent a few dollars on it. But I could not have built that facility I had not bought it for $1 back in 1976. I put in all new electrical, new HVAC, new flooring, new roof. I've added on to the building 3 times. We built a facility next door to it that we call our Red Barn. It's 2,400 square feet. The folks in this community are desperate for a community center. For 2 years, we allowed that building to be used as a community center. We had barn dances. We had church events. We have Halloween events. We have a Halloween event coming up next week that is our 6th year. We do 600 to 700 kids through there every year. We give away $2,500 worth of free prizes. We have 75% of the income that we generate from that business comes from Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, Santa Fe. Doesn't come from Edgewood. So that's gross receipts tax that come to the Edgewood community from out of the town. And we track it. We know that that's the fact. We couldn't survive doing what we do over there with this small community. And we appreciate all the support we get from this community. But it makes no sense to me that common sense has nothing to do with this decision up here. It's someone else's agenda or it's politics. You've got a building over there that is not in disrepair. It needs a little bit of maintenance. So why tear it down when we can do something with it and use it for a lot of different things? It can generate income for the town. It can be a swimming pool. It can be anything you want to make it. And you don't have to spend $15 million to rebuild it. So that makes no sense to me. And I've done this since 1976. I run a business out here. And I love this community. I built a house out here in 1983. My kids all went to that grade school. And then they put them on a bus and sent them 10 miles to Moriarty in snowstorms. I've been in here long enough to wonder why we never had a high school out here. Because the population gets shipped out of town. So it's not Edgewood against Moriarty. It's Edgewood's growing community. So let's do what it takes to grow.
Thank
Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Nicholas Jaramillo, and this is my brother, Dominic Jaramillo. We're here representing the younger kids of Edgewood, and there needs to be a place where not only younger, middle-aged, but older folks can get together and do things. I would love to vote getting a pool. That would be amazing.
I'd also like to. Recently, we were in Florida, and me and Nicholas went to this arcade, and it was like a bunch of fun. And I think the younger kids would love an arcade.
Yoga or Tai Chi for the older folks or the younger ones? And how about bowling? I think it would be amazing. And a bunch of people say, oh, these are just ideas. Let's not forget that America was founded on an idea. An idea of the brave and an idea to be free. And I think that we need to fight and that we need to keep the school or the building open.
And also, we don't want to forget that we're just not trying to get Edgewood better. We're trying to get the state of New Mexico better. And the first step to doing that is voting out.
Meant to us. We are part of their district. We're not a rival community. We are the whole district, Moriarty and Edgewood. And if we can't work out Moriarty and Edgewood, then I believe maybe it's time we do become Moriarty or Edgewood. That's my thoughts tonight.
Okay, I guess last call. Any last thoughts? Yes.
Yeah, my name's Diana Neff. What is the relevance of the well under the school? Is there really a well?
Go ahead, Brett.
So there is a community water supply well. Technically, it's not under the school. It's to the west of the school, but it is a system that serves both our facility, the town rents, and it also serves the Edgewood Middle School.
Yes, Mayor, sorry.
Just wondering if you have any comments.
I didn't. I think we've just made sure that Dinah's taken really good notes, and she's been typing away, so nothing more from me tonight.
Okay, commissioners.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, I would just like to go ahead and add this. This building, as far as being a facility for further education, is not over. That building will still be teaching people for a very, very long time if we can keep it. It's still going to be for education, but it's also going to be for so much more. We can start using those classrooms for classes for different types of education. I know C&M at one time wanted to come out here and do classes, but there wasn't a facility out here, so they dropped it. But that is still in their minds about possibly having those classes come out here. Santa Fe Community College is doing a class out here. And if we had more space, they would do more classes. And for the younger folks that are in here, if you were able to go and take a college class here at Edgewood, would you take it? So by getting rid of this building and getting rid of the possibility of being able to do those classes, we are taking away from our children. And for the older folks that are out here, people always want to learn more. There can always be more education classes for everybody of every age that can be in that building. But the thing is, none of this will ever be able to happen if the building is gone. Because once it's gone, that's it. It's all over. We're going to have to turn around and spend anywhere between $10 and $20 million of our town money to build a new building. We shouldn't have to do that when there's already one here. We can use that building. We can continue education in that building and the tradition that that building had for education. Everybody I've ever talked to that went to that school, and when it was elementary school, they were proud to go to that school. They enjoyed that school. They said it was a great school to go to. Let's keep that building a good school and expand its horizons. Thank you, Mayor.
I just have to agree in concept, we should not be making the taxpayers pay twice for things. If the replacement cost of that building is $14 million, why knock it down and then have the taxpayers pay again for a new building? That just does not make sense. And there was a comment here.
I just have one thing to say. Do we have any choice as to where we send our tax money?
He's asking the question, do we have any choice where we send our tax money?
Yeah, if we do have a choice, then we supply 75% of the funds, we should have a big statement.
They vote no on school bonds. That's how you get a voice in this. This state votes yes on school bonds, and they have no control.
So his comment was, sorry, could you repeat that part?
They should give us the school. We're spending 75% of all funds for Memorial.
He's saying that the district should give us the school if we are spending or giving them 75% of the capital money and bonds and everything from Edgewood.
You know, it's an interesting concept because I know Gail Smith brought up that of the $27 million in money that the district has used for buildings, renovation, new buildings, that we should have received 20 million of that if it was a 75% ratio. And we've received just very little. So this building, even if it was brand new, would be worth 14 million. It's not brand new, so it's not worth that. So we may be owed 2 buildings.
Yes, sir.
Whenever a politician does something that on the surface doesn't look like it makes any sense, ask the question, we vote on who benefits? Why are they wanting to knock it down? Are they getting a kickback from the new building, from the people that construct it? I mean, again, who benefits? Why would they do something illogical? Always follow the money. Follow the money.
Yes, please.
So I've been struggling with that, and it's given me brain strain for a long time. And you have to go back in history. Several people here have talked about the political rivalry that Moriarty seems to feel for Edgewood. And Moriarty's population is actually declining while Edgewood is doing this. Ever since Edgewood Incorporated, we've been able to have businesses that we could never have before. And because of the proximity to Albuquerque, people have built here. So we've got Walmart, we've got Smith's, we've got restaurants, we've got all these things we never had, services. And meanwhile, Moriarty seems to be languishing. So I have to say that in understanding it, what I came to the conclusion is that there is this kind of idea that if Edgewood prospers, Moriarty suffers. And so they're trying to move all the kids down there. They won't build us a high school. They build a $5 million sports complex in a 1,900 population town when you've got one of 6,500 up here. And we don't have a high school, and we don't have a community center. Not the kind that we're talking about tonight. So, in answer to your question, I know it doesn't make any sense unless you understand this historical context. And Moriarty has not acknowledged Edgewood's identity. You know, we're now our own entity. We're now an incorporated entity. So I think that plays a lot into it.
Sure, go ahead. No, go ahead. You can
Let me
ask.
get her a microphone.
My question is, should we have our own school district?
Well, I think we do have our own school district. We've just never taken charge of it by voting people in that represent our end of the district.
We should work on that too. Yeah.
For too long, Edgewood has been the redheaded stepchild of the East Mountains, or at least treated that way. That time ends at some point. with our growing population and a declining population to the east of us, that's going to change at some point. We are the hub of the East Mountains. But this isn't us versus Moriarty. This really isn't us versus a school district. This is us trying to open a line of communication with a group of individuals that don't want to hear what we have to say and what you have to say. We're going to move past that as well. At some point, we're going to grow, we're going to grow past that, we're going to heal. And in order to do that, we have to have these types of meetings. You know, they hurt us. Obviously, they're a little sensitive. You know, we never said they sucked. That's the way they took it. But they heard what we had to say. They heard what you have to say. That was our goal. Throughout this whole meeting, we wanted your voices to be heard by them. Because we've already heard them. So, we're so proud of everybody in here. Thank you guys so much for coming and having your voices heard. Going through the process that this country was founded on, just like our young gentleman back there already said, this is what this country was based on, our voices being heard. So thank you guys.
I do have a comment.
I knew you did. I knew it was in there somewhere.
Yeah, I got the mic back, and you can't take it away. You know, being from these mountains and born and raised in Moriarty and watching this place grow from virtually nothing, when the wind blew, Edgewood would always come to Moriarty. And for some reason, it seems to be felt that way by a lot of people. Well, not me. We need Moriarty just as well as Moriarty needs us. But this is about the school district. And in the way that the school district, which is a different entity between Moriarty, the town of Moriarty, and the school district. The school district, which is Edgewood, Moriarty, and the surrounding Santa Fe counties, even part of Torrance County. So I do want to make that clear that we can fix this problem, and it's very easy. We just have to get over this little hurdle that we have in front of us right now in the building. That's the first step. And the second step will be, just like the 5 of us up here did, with the help of all of you in the community, you stood up. So when it comes to election, and I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to say it loud and clear. When it comes to the election, we, the people, need to make sure that our voice is heard. We can take the Board of Education and have a voice if we do it right. And I think this town is ready to do that. So I thank you all very much for coming tonight and for participating and giving us your opinion. Whether good or bad, it was still an opinion. And I definitely appreciate it. That's the way the world should be, is by listening to each other and being able to shake hands afterwards. So again, thank you all very much for
coming, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Jaramillo. I forgot what your name. The mayor. It's getting late.
I think it's getting late now.
Okay, all right. So next on the agenda, we do have a closed session. It'll probably be very brief, just to check in if we need it. I can't think of anything that we need to go into closed session for. Brad, Manager Sensenbauer, do we need? Yeah, we don't have to. I mean, we have to vote to go in, and so if we just don't vote to go in, then we're fine, right?
I'm going to make a motion to eliminate that item from the agenda.
Well, we just don't vote to go in. Yeah, that's all, because we already approved the agenda. So yeah, so we'll forego the closed session, and I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn. Nina, anything that we need addressed for the record at all?
I'm always impressed with the Edgewood people being willing to have a voice, and we haven't had one for a long time with regard to the school district. So thank you very much for coming out. This will be turned around eventually one way or another. But we're trying to do a win-win. We don't want to fight with anybody, but when you have to stand up, you have to stand up. Thank you all for doing that.
Thank you all. We'll go ahead and adjourn at 9:30.